But a CFS body is very different from a normal body. It doesn't respond to the science of exercise. How's it going, guys? Miguel here from CFS Recovery. In this video, I'm going to be answering the question of, will you ever be able to work out if you have had CFS? Now, for the longest time, I didn't think so because I had tried going back to working out so many times. A lot of people, ironically, who develop CFS or this hypersensitive nervous system issue, a lot of them were actually athletes before. In fact, not only were they athletes, they were always go, go, go. So they were always doing something, always keeping busy. So the type of people who get this illness are type A personality. They are people who are on one end of the spectrum, an extreme end of the spectrum of very busy, always go, 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 very active. Nobody who gets this was ever someone who just chilled at home on the weekends or took it easy or, all they did was watch Netflix shows all day. No, these are people who are on this side over here, working like crazy, being active. A lot of them are fit. A lot of them played sports. A lot of them loved working out, loved running, hiking, all of these things. So it's really hard to go from that place over there to barely being able to get out of bed, to barely being able to leave the house. So I know how difficult it is. I myself, growing up, I was an athlete. I played multiple sports, multiple activities. When I was in high school, I was actually the wrestling team captain, and I was also a football team captain. So I was very, very active, and I was pretty much defined by my sports, by what I did. That's who people knew me as. They knew me as the athlete, right? I was very athletic. When I was 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. When I was 19 years old, all of that came to a complete stop. And it's interesting because I always told myself when I was a teenager, I don't think I could ever live without sports. I don't know how these other people do it. People who aren't in sports, I don't know how they do that, where they're not in something competitive or they're not playing games every week. I have no idea how someone would do that because I can't imagine myself sitting still at home doing nothing. I can't. Meditation, what is that? I don't know what that is. And I've tried it and it was extremely frustrating. So to go from moving around a lot to having to completely stop all of it and barely be able to go up a flight of stairs, it crushed me. And at the time I got sick, ironically, I was actually a personal trainer. So I was teaching people how to be healthy and fit. I was seeing my own clients get stronger as I was getting weaker and weaker. So it was the most extreme case you could think of. The workouts that I did was basically picking up a weight and handing it to them or showing them how to do a push-up. And even then, that's why I kept getting sicker and sicker because I didn't want to let go of that. So eventually, my body stopped asking me to slow down and stopped asking me to really take a back seat and let myself recover. It stopped asking me, it started telling me and then yelling at me, and then it just demanded me to do that, and it didn't give me any other option. It made me extremely sick and it made me go bedridden. During my 4.5-year time trying to recover, there were so many times where I tried to slowly get back into things. I tried going for a 2-minute bike ride and I'd be monitoring my heart rate. I tried doing very short hikes. I tried doing 20 push-ups at a time or 10 push-ups at a time. I tried doing bodyweight squats and slowly building up from there because myself being a personal trainer, I specialize in rehabilitation. That was my specialty. I help people go from being injured, whether they were in a car crash or they had an injury from sports. I help them transition going from there, rock bottom, to being functional again, right? So I understood what the body needed in order to build a strong foundation. And I tried to apply that same thing to myself, but a CFS body is very different from a normal body. It doesn't respond to the science of exercise. It doesn't respond to graded exercise. You can't just constantly increase activity, right? Because there's a lot of other factors at play here. With CFS, it's not just the physical things you have to look at, it's also the mental things. So where am I getting at here? When I started to recover, like truly recover, this is after my doctor taught me all these things and I was making solid traction. I still had many symptoms coming out of the hospital. If you've seen my other videos, you know that when I first got out of the hospital, I could barely walk around. I was walking around a few hundred steps a day, maybe, and I was having adjustment periods, but I wasn't really scared of them because I knew this was the way to recover. I just had to go through enough progress cycles. levels. And if I could get a little bit better, I knew I could get a lot better. So in terms of exercise, I was no longer in a rush to get back to that place where I was able to exercise, because I knew the moment I try to rush back into them and just anticipate about the future and try to set this goal of like, I want to do that and I want to do it in the shortest time possible, or I want to do it as soon as possible, I want to do it now. The more I thought like that, I knew I would burn out, because I had tried that hundreds of times in the past. So instead, I knew that eventually I would be able to exercise again. A part of me, of course, didn't believe it because I was very sensitive at the time. I mean, when you think of going for, let's say, 1,000-meter run or even a 5-minute run, when you think of doing that in a place you're in right now, you can't even fathom it. Because right now, if you're struggling to get up the stairs or struggling to even go for walks outside the house consistently, you know that if you try to go for a run at this stage, you would probably end up in bed for 3 weeks or a month or 2 months, and you would undo months and months of progress, right? You know that. You've probably tried that before. Maybe you didn't quite go for a run, but you overdid it. So it can be hard to even imagine that you're going to be able to do that one day. That's like me saying, okay, I'm decently fit right now. Like every day I work out, even if it's a very light workout, push-ups, squats, ab exercises, all of that. That's equivalent to me saying, okay, I can do some light workout, but tomorrow I'm going to go up Mount Everest. That gap between where I am now and that goal is so far and so big that it would be impossible. In my mind, that's what it feels like. I'm not gonna go up Mount Everest tomorrow. No matter how hard I try, no matter how positive I think, I can't will myself to do that. But if I built up to it, I know I could do it 100%. I know if I gave myself enough time, eventually it would go to that place. So when you want to get back into exercise, my best advice for you would be, don't try to get back into exercise first. Try to live a normal life first. Start being able to do simple things like take a shower every day, brush your teeth every day, make food every day, do groceries, do laundry, clean the house, drive around, work part-time. Do all those things first before you even try adding in exercise. Now, if you're at a certain level where you could do a lot of that stuff, we can add very, very light exercise, as in some of the people in Recovery Jumpstart, for example, shout out to Tammy. The first thing we had her do, because she started feeling much, much better, I just had her doing 1 bicep curl every day and 1 shoulder press with 5 pounds. And if you ever picked up a 5-pound weight, you know that's almost like nothing. It's probably the equivalent of, don't quote me on this, but like 5 cell phones, right? Imagine you had 5 iPhones in your hand, you curl it. It's almost nothing, right? It might be heavy to you right now, but she was at a solid enough place where we could do that. And it was almost silly. I told her, I'm like, Tammy, you're gonna feel silly doing this. You're gonna feel like you're not accomplishing anything. But trust me on this, it's not even the weight, the resistance that we're doing here. It's really just the movement. We need to introduce it to your body and massage these movements back into your nervous system versus being like, okay, this, your nervous system is gonna get overloaded and then it's gonna go into shutdown mode. That's what's gonna happen. It's gonna be worse than an adjustment period if you try going back to exercise too quick. So we started with just basic movements. So I think the first week we did 1 curl, then a shoulder press, then we did 3 of those, and then we would build upon that. But it's always gonna be a game of expanding activity, but then reassessing, then making a decision from there. Do we either increase the overall stimulus you're placing on your body? Do we keep it the same, or do we pull backwards a little bit based on how you're feeling? And this is where it really helps to have someone like myself or another coach in the program specifically telling you exactly this is what you should be doing. These are your parameters. Stay within this for now because we're building a foundation, right? Some people, it's just being able to do 1 bodyweight squat per day. That's it. And the trickiest part in all of this, actually, when you're trying to introduce exercise again, it's not so much doing the exercise, but limiting yourself with the exercise. Because I'll tell you right now, when I tell someone to do 1 bicep curl and 1 shoulder press, they're gonna wanna do 3 or 5 or 10. And realistically, they probably could do that many and be decent. But this is where we have something like the 30-day mini challenge in the program. We start this in week 2. And it's really just to build a foundation of movement or build some kind of solid, consistent thing in recovery, some consistent pattern or routine that you can sustain. It's not about trying to do something once or twice a week or 3 times a week. No, we wanna do something every day. At first, we want it that easy to the point where you might feel like it's silly doing it. So going back to my story, I started trying to live my life before adding any exercise. And in just trying to live my life, that in itself was equivalent to exercise. Me going to the groceries and carrying different bags, right? Let's say I got a bag of broccoli and like chicken and sweet potatoes. Me carrying those bags to my car and then, to the place I was staying at, my dad's apartment. Me doing that was equivalent to someone carrying 50 pounds in each hand and doing a farmer's walk. It was equivalent to that, carrying groceries and doing a farmer's walk with like 50 pounds in each hand. Me driving a car, turning the steering wheel, looking around, that was equivalent to someone doing an arm exercise, just holding something really tight. Me just getting in and out of the car, that's equivalent to someone doing 10 bodyweight squats, because my body was so sensitive that in just doing those things, I was sore doing those. I was very deconditioned. That's another thing too. So you start building your life back sort of in these layers. You want to do the absolute essential things first. Make sure you could do those and you're decent at it. Things like taking a shower, making food, getting around the house, making your bed, throwing your clothes in the laundry, all of that stuff. Then you can take it a step further. What else can you do in the house? Then we can start, okay, let's get outside the house and sit outside. Then we can slowly start adding in walks, and then we can get you to drive or go to the groceries and then maybe see some friends or have friends come over. And only then will we start adding like actual legitimate exercise routines. I think there's a big difference actually between exercise routines and movement routines. Movement, there's almost no resistance. It's really just getting the movements going again. Exercise is when there's added resistance. So we have to start with you just moving around again. You have to build this in layers, and you want to have a strong foundation first, because for example, when they're building buildings, houses, apartments, things like that, they have a strong foundation first. What happens if you build everything else on plywood and they just rush through it and like you get floor 1, floor 2, floor 3, floor 4, and they're not strong enough? Eventually everything will come crashing down, and not only will everything be left a mess, but you have to clean up that mess first, restart from the beginning again, and it's going to take you twice as long. So better to build a really strong foundation first and then start building on top of that. And that's something that we can absolutely help you with in Recovery Jumpstart. Everybody gets some individualized programs, and I've been able to create Recovery Jumpstart in that way. That's why we can only take on so many people. Obviously, we could open the floodgates and make it super cheap, but you won't get the customized programs. You're gonna get basic information saying, okay, do this, do this, do this. Okay, good luck. We're here if you need help, right? No, with this, we hold your hand every single step of the way. That's why a majority of people don't actually get through the entire application process, because we want to make sure you're the right fit. You're able to commit to this, because if you're committing to us, if you're coming on board, we're giving you 110% and we're going to help you until you get better. That means unlimited one-to-one support. We create a customized plan for you that we're tweaking as the weeks go on. We're building you a specific structured plan, a recovery roadmap specifically for your situation that gives you parameters that are safe to stay within, so you know for a fact that you won't be crashing or going backwards. You'll know that you can live within these certain parameters for now, and those parameters get bigger over time as your world starts to expand. That's something we can absolutely help you with. Just to paint a picture for you, nowadays I can go for runs, I can work out, I can do lots of push-ups, I can do bench press. I'm actually starting to get my muscle tone back. That actually is really nice. So it's really nice being able to exercise in a way that's sustainable, in a way that feels healthy, in a way that I actually enjoy the exercise and I do it for the peace of mind now versus just doing it for looks. I want to do it because I want to have more energy. And so you can absolutely get back to exercising. Shout out to Raylan, because she had CFS before as well, and she ran a marathon. So it is absolutely possible. I've seen it. In fact, there's this one lady also, Adrienne. She was in the Recovery Jumpstart program last year. She recovered. Now I see her on Facebook doing like handstands, going to concerts, going for runs and hikes, and it is absolutely possible. What's not possible is you going back to the life before, where you're exercising way too much, working way too much, not sleeping enough, being too stressed. That's not sustainable. But it is possible to exercise again and really live your life. In fact, one of my goals is to run a marathon within the next year, just to show all of you guys that it is possible. I want to show you guys that you can go from being in a hospital bedridden, having to get spoon-fed, to being able to run a marathon. And I'm going to prove to you guys that, just to prove a point. The YouTube subscriber comment highlight of this video is RNDM, and he says, or she says, I agree with you completely. Thanks for these videos. In our cases, and this was my video about anxiety and depression with CFS, he says, in our cases, it sure seems depression and anxiety are dramatically magnified or entirely brought about by the crippling and cumulative effects of CFS on our psyche. I've been to the psych ward. I've taken over 10 psych meds with no benefit, only side effects. Had 36 TMS treatments and also led a life of high function and success in spite of persistent fatigue and its associated ailments until the total crash 4 months ago. For me, mental illness is the scariest part. Mindfulness-based stress reduction has helped me more than any doctor over 40 years. I'm excited to try the brain retraining you discussed in another video, and we'll be reading your book. Thanks for sharing your story with us. Yes, anxiety and depression are absolutely magnified when you have a hypersensitive nervous system issue. Just know that that's completely normal. Something I talk about on this channel as well as in the program that we help people navigate is the adjustment periods, because in adjustment periods, you will have mood swings. Your negative moods will be amplified, and everything that you're feeling is amplified. Good things as well as bad things. Mostly bad things, actually, because the default mode of your brain right now with CFS is to go towards worry, fear, and danger. So if you did enjoy this video, make sure to comment down below. You have a chance to be the subscriber comment highlight of the next video. Make sure to hit that like button. And if you wanted to get some extra help on your journey, if you needed some extra guidance, some specific support, you needed some structure, because we've done this with so many people, it works. It's not a matter of getting lucky. We know this works. If you wanted some extra help, you can click the link down below, apply to the program, see if you're a good fit. If you are, we'll hop on a call just to make sure you're a good fit. If you are, then myself as well as the other coaches in the program would absolutely love to help you get your life back. Always remember, you are a thriver and you are just one mind shift away from living a life with thriving health. I'll see you in the next video.